Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad to be sitting down here and chatting with you guys today because we have such an interesting topic to discuss. If you're new here, my name is Oyinkan and I'm so glad that you're watching. Welcome to the channel and please do well to subscribe. I promise you're going to love the content that is on this channel. I film about just interesting bits of my life, share the reality behind everything that you see, and just my experience in South Africa as well, right? And if you are a returning subscriber, if you're an OG on this channel, thank you so much for being here. Your being here means a lot to me, okay? So let's get into today's topic. It's going to be a very interesting one, okay? So as you guys know, or as most of you know, I live in South Africa. It's going on 5 years now. In about 2 months, I'll be 5 years in South Africa, guys. Time flies. One new experience I've had in South Africa is basically the process of pregnancy, childbirth, and now motherhood, right? And it's not like I ever experienced this in Nigeria because I was just a girl. Still am, but I was just a girl back when I was in Nigeria, right? But compared to what I see or what is normal for us in general Nigerian culture, there's a few things I experienced here that just feel a bit different, right? That I know were definitely different. They were like culture shocks and things like that. So I thought to make this video and share with you my South African culture shocks, pregnancy, birth, motherhood edition. Okay, so if you're interested, which I know you are, let's jump right into it. So for some context, I was pregnant from December of last year till August this year. I had my baby girl in August this year and she is the most precious little girl in the world. She's actually taking a nap now. I wanted her to feature in this video, but then I also figured that it's best to make this video while she's taking a nap. So that's why I'm also trying to talk fast, if you notice, before she wakes up. So yeah, I had her in August of this year, and the entire stretch of pregnancy was pretty interesting for me, right? And so for this culture shock thing, I think the first one I will share with you guys is one that happened during pregnancy, and then we'll make our way through to motherhood, right? Okay, so the first culture shock is the questions I got asked during my pregnancy. Okay, so in Nigerian culture, and I say this very loosely, Nigeria has, like, of course, just like everybody else, Nigeria has different tribes and there are different traditions among different tribes, right? But I'm just talking about like the culture as a whole. So I would say Nigerian culture and South African culture a lot in this video, right? So as I was saying, in Nigerian culture, there's this like sacredness or privacy that we have around pregnancy, where in some cases some people even hide their pregnancies like till they give birth, right? Or they don't talk about it at all, or they only share with like their close family and friends and things like that. But I wasn't too crazy about that. I didn't share my pregnancy on social media, but when it came to like the people who were around me on a daily, my church members, my friends, people in my community, I wasn't trying to hide my pregnancy. I mean, what would I do? Lock myself up or wear a waist trainer? So yeah, what I found was that as opposed to Nigeria, where people will just say, "Oh, congrats, you're pregnant," and move along, or just try to give you advice, people here tended to ask like a few personal questions, right? And they weren't doing it out of like a, how do I put this now? They weren't doing it because they just wanted to be nosy. They were doing this because it's their normal, right? So for example, people would ask me for my due dates. People will ask me whether, before the gender reveal, people will ask me whether the baby was a boy or a girl, if we knew yet. And people would also ask me for the baby's name. Like, it's very different. And this is the second thing I'm going to talk about. I'm going to get to it, the name thing, right? But in Nigeria, nobody wants to know your baby's name while you're still pregnant because it's just not our culture. There's a culture around naming the child, so you would hardly find anybody. Maybe your sister, maybe your closest friends, your closest family, not even friends, would only be the ones to ask you about the baby's name. As a matter of fact, when I gave birth, my Nigerian friends, like my tight closest friends, didn't even ask me for baby's name until we named the baby. So I feel like that is one culture shock I experienced here, which is that people are very open about asking you questions around your pregnancy. When are you due? In fact, I got asked about my due date so much that I just used to say the month or the range of my due date. But I find that people will still press further because that's not what they're asking. They're asking for my due date, right? So I just had to like be careful around that one and everything. Now I don't know whether the Nigerian way of doing it is based on fear or just based on just how we are as a people, but whatever it is, it's what I grew up around, and so I found it a bit shocking that people here were so freely asking me those questions. And that leads me to the second thing that I experienced, which is the way we name babies in Nigeria versus the way they name babies in South Africa. So in Nigeria, the culture is that 7 days after the child is born, or is it on the 8th day? Yeah, on the 8th day. So for example, I gave birth on Friday, and then the 8th day was the next Friday. So the next week, right, after the baby is born, we have something called a naming ceremony, okay? Now, naming ceremonies in Nigeria can range from just a living room gathering with your immediate family and a pastor where the baby's names are blessed, the baby is prayed for, and then the baby is officially named. And it can go all the way to like a big party with you renting a space or renting a hall and like wearing matching clothes and having a band, having a DJ, and also having a pastor who's going to name the child, but essentially having a reception party around that. So that is how we name babies in Nigeria. However, in South Africa, I found that right from the hospital, they were asking me for the baby's name. Like before we got discharged on the 3rd day after I gave birth, we already had the baby's name on all the documents, everything was done, right? And people who knew I had given birth were also already asking for baby's name. So I find that in South Africa, naming the baby is something that as soon as the parents decide on what the name of their child is going to be, whether from pregnancy or immediately after giving birth, they begin to address the child as that, which is pretty interesting for me. I find that the South African way is more convenient because now you don't have to hide the name and wait 7 days or 8 days before you start calling your child that name or anything, right? For us though, what we did was as soon as baby was born, we really didn't mind sharing her name with like our close family and friends if they asked. Like we weren't going out of our way to say, oh, this is baby's name to people who weren't asking, but if they asked, we really didn't mind. I even made my siblings guess. Like it was such a long call because I made them guess her first and second name, and then I shared with them just like 2 or 3 days before the naming ceremony. So yeah, that's the naming ceremony culture in Nigeria versus South Africa. Now also, in terms of taking your baby to church, that is if you're a Christian, there is a Nigerian culture of doing a baby dedication at 40 days. So what we will typically do is when the baby is 40 days old, or the Sunday following that, because I mean if your baby is 40 days old on a Wednesday, you can't go to church on a Wednesday. So the Sunday following that, essentially you would be booked for a baby dedication in church. Now what I find in South Africa is that the churches here would have maybe 2 baby dedications a year. So every new baby in the church, up until the time when the dedication is done, they would all come up together. The pastor will pray over all the babies one by one, and they're dedicated. And some people can even do it like much later when their child is already a toddler or something. But in the Nigerian way, the typical Nigerian way, it's 40 days after the baby is born. You take your baby to church, and then maybe later in the service, after the sermon is done and all that, they're doing maybe Thanksgivings and stuff, they call your family up, they announce the birth of your baby to the church, and then the pastor prays over the baby, does the dedication and all that. So essentially it's family by family, it's not like a group thing. Of course, if maybe 3 families happen to have dedication on the same day, then that's a happy coincidence, but you basically can have it done specifically for your family at 40 days. So that's what I find that we do in Nigeria. So yeah, that also means that the baby is out of the house at 40 days old, whereas I find that in South Africa, mothers are typically advised, I mean it's not necessary, it's not 100% necessary to follow the rule, but mothers are typically advised culturally to wait about 3 months before they go out with the baby. So yeah, that is how we name our babies in Nigeria and how we take our babies to church in Nigeria versus South Africa. Right now my baby is 3 months old, and at 2 months old I started taking her to church, and we didn't dedicate her yet. Like it was just her coming to church like every other person, like every other baby, and people just came to say hello to us, to her, meet her for the first time and all that. So when they have the next batch of baby dedications in my church, that's when I'm going to do the baby dedication for my baby. But whatever the case, like as a child of God, I know that my baby is already dedicated to God. Whether or not I go to a ceremony or a display of it, my child is dedicated to God, and that's that on that. Next thing that I noticed that we do in Nigeria versus South Africa is around piercing baby's ears. My baby is almost 4 months old and she doesn't wear earrings yet. Why? Because typically in South Africa you wait till about 6 months before you pierce a baby's ears. And I find that very fascinating because let me tell you something, guys. Where I come from, your baby's ears get pierced at the hospital if you request it. That's how we do it. So if you find like lately I've even seen pictures of people who have just announced like the birth of their babies. Unfortunately, I'm unable to post that here because I'm not just going to take someone's baby's picture and put in my video for the sake of it, right? But I've seen a lot of people who have just brought their babies home from the hospital and shared photos of their baby girls, and that girl already has an earring on, man. That is how we do it in Nigeria. We do it as early as possible because we know that at the newborn stage their tolerance for pain is higher and they don't remember it, they get over it fast, and they're also not like tugging at their ears and pulling and anything, so it heals faster, it heals easier. Whereas in South Africa, I remember when my baby was around 2 weeks old or so, we had gone to the hospital one day, and on our way back from the hospital I had gone to pick up something at the pharmacy. So I just popped in there and I was asking them about piercing babies' ears, because I also heard that here you do it at like a lot of pharmacies and stuff, right? So I had gone into this pharmacy to pick up something. I was holding my baby on my shoulder, and then I just asked the lady there, like, oh, do you guys pierce babies' ears? And how much is it? What's the process like? And the way she looked at me, like the judgment was tangible in the air. She was looking at me like, how dare you? Like, how old is your baby? I said she's 2 weeks old. And she's like, she didn't even answer like all the questions, whether or not they pierce baby's ears, how much it is, all those things. She didn't even answer all those questions. She just said, like, she's too young. You can't, like, the look on her face, she thought I was a crazy person. Honestly. So yeah, that's basically how it is here. You can't pierce your baby's ears for months. And of course, I don't know whether there are places where they bypass all of that and just do the thing for you. But in the pharmacies I went to, I've gone to about 3 places now to ask. They are like, come back when baby's around 6 months old. We'll see if she can tolerate it and we'll go from there. And I even have a friend who recently pierced her baby's ears at 1 year old. Her baby just turned 1 and she just got her baby's ears pierced. So yeah, that's pretty much how it is. The next thing I experienced, which was a bit of a difference, and I wouldn't necessarily call this one a culture shock because it's not necessarily about culture, but here it is anyway. The thick and furry clothes that you wear for babies here in South Africa were quite interesting to me, right? The thing about Nigerian climate is that it is always hot, right? Maybe we have a rainy season, but even during the rainy season, like compared to what I've experienced here, it's like the weather is in like the 20s during rainy season, and that's the coldest we get in like Western Nigeria. Let me specify that. So yeah, we just have normal baby clothes, maybe a little sweater here and there, you know, a knitted sweater, things like that. It's not like the really thick furry clothes for babies. But I find that because I gave birth to my baby in the winter, in August, so September and maybe early part of October it was still cold, so I found that I had to wear like a lot of thick clothing for her, and you will just find a lot of these like furry thick clothes in the shops, right? So that was a bit of a different experience to me. Like I said, not necessarily culture shock, but something new. Now there are a few things I realized pertaining to baby care that are very, very interesting and very different in South Africa. And the first one I'm going to mention is how babies are bathed here. So I found through TikTok, actually through watching videos on TikTok, that babies are bathed with something called aqueous cream here, right? So it's actually like a moisturizing cream. It's like a very soft water slash glycerin based moisturizing cream, but people use that to bath their children. Until now, I don't know how that works. Like, I've never bathed my child in aqueous cream. I just use baby body wash for her, and then I use lotion and moisturizer on her skin after the bath. But I find that in the bath, like, people douse their children with aqueous cream hair, and then they wash that off. And then after the bath, sometimes they still use aqueous cream as lotion. So I generally just do not understand how that works. Again, another culture shock I found is that there is a range of products that I do not understand that people use on babies in South Africa. And I would actually like you guys in the comments to tell me more about these products, because the one that I'm sure of that I can pronounce amongst these products is called Harlem Benzes, right? So it's a range of products that I believe to help with calming the baby down, help with colic, just different things like that. I don't even know what's what, but I know that there is one they call Harlem Benzes, and I don't use it. I don't have it because I don't know how to use it. It's new to me, right? I don't believe that we have these things in Nigeria because I've just never seen them before, and I've been around like a good number of babies in Nigeria. So yeah, there's that range of products, that range of drops, for babies. Yeah, came as a bit of a culture shock, because I know that around babies also we try to use as few products as possible, as few just external things as possible. Just bath them, lotion them, feed them with the barest minimum. So seeing that there's this range of products that people buy, because on TikTok also I have seen like moms who have their entire range, who have like 5 different things that they drop in their baby's bath water when they want to bath the baby. And I'm just like, is it too much or is it normal? So I want you guys to tell me about it really. Is that the normal thing here? What are these products? What are they made of? Just tell me, educate all of us who don't really know about these things in the comments, okay? And lastly, as it pertains to baby care as well, there's something I found which I think is very controversial, and so I would like us to talk about it a little bit in the comment section, right? I don't know what this cream is called, but I found it on TikTok, and I did my further research, and I have seen it in a few stores as well. This cream is used on baby's skin, like it's a cream, it's like a lotion, and the purpose of this cream is to ward off evil spirits from the baby. Honestly, the Nigerian Christian in me finds that a bit weird, but we listen, we don't judge. We watch, we don't judge, right? So I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying that I find it a bit shocking and a bit weird that somebody somewhere is manufacturing a cream and telling us that if we put this cream on our babies, it's going to ward off evil spirits. And we are buying it and we are putting it on our babies, not necessarily knowing the formulation or anything like that. And the thing is, there are people who swear by this and say it works. So I'm not going to come here and say, oh, just don't do it, just don't use it. Okay, of course, I know personally that I don't necessarily believe in that kind of thing, so I will not be buying that and I will not be using that. But I feel like nothing is done in a void, right? There's a chance that the use of this cream is probably off the back of something that used to be done traditionally, maybe like a type of bath or a type of ointment that used to be applied to babies. I'm just saying, like, hypothetically, right? So if there is more to this, if there is a history behind it, if there is a culture behind it, I want you guys to tell me more about that in the comments, and let me know, do you believe in the use of these creams that can ward off evil spirits from babies, or are you team, don't worry, my baby's fine, God is taking care of us, we are fine? Right? I really want to know more about this, and I want to know how people feel about it in the comment sections, right? So I think that's it for today. Those are like the main things I would say that I found a bit shocking. If I remember other things, I think maybe I'll make a part 2 of this video. However, there are still a few other things that I want to ask about. So with these ones, I don't know the culture around them, right? It's not a case of I experienced something different than what I would typically experience in Nigeria, right? These ones I don't know, and I would like to know, right? So let me give you a list of these things and you can tell me more about it in the comments. Number 1 is the culture around the placenta, the mother's placenta. So in Nigeria, when you give birth in a hospital and stuff, I'm sure that the hospital takes care of the placenta and all that. But culturally, or at least I'll say in maybe Yoruba culture, I know that there used to be a culture of collecting your placenta from the hospital and burying it, like burying the placenta, and I think praying over it and things like that. So I want to know, is there any similar thing in South Africa? Number two is foods for the mother, right? So in Nigeria, there are certain foods that we give to mothers, like new moms, that we believe help with, because these foods are typically eaten very hot, we believe that they help with the mother's belly, the healing process, and lactation. Some of these include pap. I mean, what we call pap in Nigeria is different from what we call pap in South Africa. So I'm probably going to show you what Nigerian pap looks like. It's like a porridge. I know they have something similar in South Africa that's called sour porridge. But anyway, the foods that we'll typically find a mother eating in Nigeria include pap, amala, and ewedu, pepper soup. I think also there's black soup. There's this other soup that I don't know what it's called, but it's like greenish. So yeah, we have a range of foods that we kind of say that new moms should always eat. Well, I feel like pap is number one on that list, right? So are there any foods for South African mothers where, after giving birth, during lactation, it's a must for you to eat those foods? Tell me in the comments. And lastly, I want to know the culture around confinement in South Africa. So a lot of cultures, including Nigeria, have this period of confinement where it's believed that the mother shouldn't go out, the baby shouldn't go out, the mother should be taken care of in a certain way, pampered in a certain way because she's just giving birth and all that. So just let me know your experience or what you know about confinement culture in South Africa. I would love to learn more about that. In Nigeria, yeah, the mother-in-law comes for something that we typically will call omugwo. Omugwo is an Igbo word, but I find that nearly all cultures in Nigeria use that word already. Even if you're Yoruba, you will say, oh, my mom is coming to stay for omugwo or something like that. It's just the period where the woman's mother or maybe a family member or mother-in-law or whoever comes to help care for her and the baby, right? For, I don't know, as long as they want, but there's no like fixed time. So maybe in some cultures it's 40 days unfailingly, it's 1 month unfailingly. So yeah, just let me know that. So I think I've asked a lot of questions in this video. So I expect the comment section to be very interesting and very educative. I'm excited and I'm looking forward to everything you guys have to say about this whole thing, this culture shock, these ways of doing things, and yeah, just looking to learn a little bit more and to keep you guys entertained. The process of pregnancy and becoming a mother, in my experience, has just been an absolute miracle. It's divine, it's beautiful, and I just want to take a moment to pray that for every woman who desires this, or for every family that desires this experience, I pray that God is going to grant you the desires of your heart and cause you to enjoy the joys, the absolute joys of motherhood, which include being spat on. I got dressed for this video before my baby woke up in the morning, and just when I was about to start setting up, she woke up and she spat on me. I don't know if it's visible, but yeah, there's spit on my dress, but we move. Okay, all right guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to leave a comment and tell me what you think, and don't forget to like this video. By liking this video, you make sure that other people get a chance to see. You make sure that the algorithm recommends this video to other viewers or other potential viewers. And don't forget to share with somebody, because this is a very good conversation starter. So if you share this video, you and your friends can actually have something to talk about and bond over, especially as we're gathering together, this holiday period. And do not forget to subscribe to the channel. I know that there might be a few new people here who are seeing me for the first time or watching one of my videos for the first time, and please, I would love for you to subscribe to this channel. I promise you that all the content that goes out here is interesting, it's educative, it's fun, it's relatable, it's not fake, it's no toxic, it's not any of that. So you will definitely enjoy being here. Subscribing to the channel is absolutely free and it doesn't take a lot from you, so please please subscribe to the channel. And I think that is it. All right guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.